what happened, what was announced yesterday, was not enough?
It's seriously too little too late. I would want to believe that it is a step forward. But then until I actually watched and listened to Carrie Lam on TV. Now, she wouldn't come out to give a proper press conference. She would give you a pre-taped presentation looking just like some Communist Party senior cadre. Never mind. But the content of her speech, announcing what she did announce, is just too unacceptable. She kept blaming the young in Hong Kong for conducting what she called violence, but she wouldn't talk about, she wouldn't even mention police brutality, which has been so abundant and so transparent and obvious via all those press photos and footage. And she would say that all this unrest would be dealt with by the law, which is that particular statement is particularly disgusting because in Hong Kong, rule of law is now almost zero, nothing as far as the police force is concerned. And we have rule by law. We have laws here, and you're being governed by that. And it's all according to the authorities' interpretation, etc.
But who implements the law now? I mean, if not the police, who then during this, if you could call it a transition period where one camp doesn't trust the police, but in the absence of the police, I don't want to talk about the other option there, who do you suggest then comes in the middle and implements it?
The police force is supposed to serve the people, not using excessive force or calling citizens bad names. I mean, I do have the impression that the Hong Kong police force thinks they are the proxy of the People's Liberation Army in Hong Kong, and the people here are the enemy. And this is completely wrong. Carrie Lam should have reined in the Hong Kong police, telling them to properly behave and genuinely serve with care.
Claudia, it's Tom here in Beijing. I don't know if you'll be able to see this. Our viewers will. We've got some front pages of the mainland newspapers here. The English language ones, the Global Times. Carrie Lam is squarely on the front page. China Daily, it's on the front page. In terms of the Chinese language newspapers, this is the Renmin Rebao, so the People's Daily. There is nothing on here. Not a big surprise that they're not putting Carrie Lam on the front page of the People's Daily. I guess my question is related to some of the editorials in there, which are saying that now effectively protesters in Hong Kong have no excuse. This extradition bill has been withdrawn. There is no excuse now for more protests, certainly no more violent protests. And that's part of the strategy, isn't it, by Beijing, to divide the protest movement?
That's exactly what we're worried, and that's exactly what we said yesterday. Now, we have to also pay attention to the fact that only one day before Beijing issued this dire warning to Hong Kong, telling us that they could apply mainland Chinese laws in Hong Kong in no time when they think it's necessary. And why 24 hours later? Less, probably, Carrie Lam would make this a supposed concession. It tells you there's some conflicting views within Beijing, and ultimately they would say that now all the unrest started off with this China extradition controversy. This issue has now gone. We have made it disappear. So back to normal, Hong Kong. And if the fight continues, they could always claim that, this is all for so-called Hong Kong independence. It's all separatist movement, and outsiders, people in the international community must keep off because this is very much the Chinese national and internal matter. That's the idea. In Chinese, we say you retreat first before you advance.